The only program of its kind in the United States, Community Shield, a program that's produced by police officers, where police officers are the ones that actually kind of hook up with the guests and bring them in, and we discuss some of the very important topics, and we do the interviewing. In this program today, Community Shield, we're going to be talking to an investigator. He is a Detective Otero. He's out of the Major Assaults Family Violence Division. And we're going to talk about and expand on family violence, domestic abuse, the DART unit, our domestic abuse response team that we have working every day on the streets. We're going to let you know what the difference between family violence unit, the DART unit, and how they work together here in Community Shield. Now I'm going to ask you for a favor. Please share the program. Share it right now. And of course, stick around.
Hello, I'm Troy Finner, Chief of Police of the Houston Police Department. I want to address the issue of domestic violence. It affects victims, their families, co-workers, and first responders. These calls are also some of our most dangerous for police officers. In the past 2 years, Sergeants Christopher Brewster and Harold Preston were killed while responding to domestic violence calls. Family violence is also one of the driving motives in Houston murder cases. In upcoming videos, you will hear how HPD responds to scenes after receiving 911 calls. We'll introduce you to DART, the Domestic Abuse Response Team, and we'll show you the support both HPD and our partners offer victims and survivors. Please know, HPD not only seeks to arrest and convict domestic violence abusers, but also work hard to address the needs of the victim. We help them get out of an unsafe and violent environment, find a safe place to live for them and their children, and follow up every step of the way. We want every victim and survivor to know that HPD is here for them, and we want every domestic violence abuser to know HPD will hold them accountable.
In 2019, the Houston Police Department, in collaboration with VAWA-funded organizations, partnered and launched the Domestic Abuse Response Team. It's more commonly referred to as DART. Within minutes of a 911 emergency call, DART teams are dispatched to secure the scenes and provide an on-scene crisis response to victims of domestic violence and violent crime. A true coordinated response, DART teams are exposed immediately to the on-scene primary officer, but the DART team is an officer paired with a victim advocate who is trauma-informed and taught to be victim-centered. And we get that from our partners, our training in collaboration with the Houston Area Women's Center, endorsed by the Attorney General's Office. And we coordinate with DART forensic nurses so that they can collect that medical forensic evidence that's critical to identify physical evidence, mental assistance, and the appropriate level of intervention, care, and management to preserve evidence for law enforcement and prosecutors to make and prosecute effective criminal cases.
So I believe for HPD today is a great win because legislation was enacted to pass the VAWA reauthorization, and what that means is HPD actually gets to continue to advocate for victims of crime and they still will receive crime victims compensation, which entitles them many rights, but it helps with medical, it helps with lost wages. It actually provides funding so that they can be on their journey to recovery. The other thing it helps is the funding for grants to fund projects like DART to be a pilot and sustain funding. Our partners who support the empowerment of survivors of violent crime, and we continue to partner and champion those grants so that they can help doing that through the very first touch with law enforcement to build that trust, community trust. There's also a training element to the legislation that passed that says we're going to train our law enforcement to be trauma-informed, victim-centered. Additionally, it encourages the forensic nurses, the domestic violence forensic nurses, the SANE exams to make sure that victims don't have to pay for that, because they don't even sometimes know where they're going to stay, where their next meal is coming from. So for VAWA, this empowers them to have skills training, legal assistance, forensic medical assistance, long-term counseling, and it helps law enforcement with tools like identifying those people who want to own guns. They can't own guns if they're convicted of a felony, or if they have probation, if they have restraining orders, if they have a domestic violence case. Now law enforcement is notified so we can get those guns off the street and potentially put cases on people that shouldn't be carrying guns in the first place. It's a big win.
All right, you're watching Community Shield of the Houston Police Department. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for watching us. We want to recognize our partners with NowMedia Television Group. They are airing this program on different markets all over the United States, on different radio stations also all over the United States. NowMedia, again, we appreciate you being that platform that allows us to send that message out, not only in the Houston, Harris County area, not only in the Texas area, in the different cities in Texas, but all over the United States. Now, I know the Houston Police Department cannot be on every single city, but I'm sure you guys have your own agency, and you can do outreach. You can call them and ask if they have something similar to what the Houston Police Department has. Now, the topic that we're going to be covering today, of course, is something that every single department in the United States basically works. And this is family violence, domestic abuse. Some people call it domestic abuse. Some people call it family violence. And they got different ways of calling it, but it's all the same. And the Houston Police Department, we have been taking this crime as something of a high priority, and throughout the years have been expanding on it. And today we have Detective Otero representing a major assaults family violence division of the Houston Police Department, and he's got a wealth of information. We want to reiterate some of the things that family violence has been doing for a while, and maybe some of the new things that have been implemented in the years. So again, Officer Otero, Detective Otero, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
All right, so tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about the things that you have done before, how many years you've been on the department, de donde eres, where you're from, all that good stuff.
I'm actually a transplant, came from the New York, New Jersey area. I've been in Houston for about 6 years. I've been on the department for 6 years. During that time, I spent most of my patrol years in Acres Homes area, the North Patrol area. I started working the DART program we'll speak about shortly, and that brought me into the world of family violence and domestic violence. And then I became a detective for the family violence unit. So,
all right, how different is it over there, the northeast area to Houston in the south?
Everything's faster up there.
Okay.
Everything seems to move in slow motion here. I've had to make an adjustment.
So family violence cases move a little faster over there?
I was never a cop actually over there.
Really? Okay. No. What were you doing over there?
A lot of school.
Okay.
A lot of school. Yeah. Got my master's degree and then just applied for jobs. I think I started here when I was 30.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Now, what called you into the policing?
I wanted to be a cop since I was 4.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of one of those things. It's a lot of kids, they play that game where they're growing up and they want to, I want to be this, I want to be that. Nope, it's just been cop for me all these years. So,
really? How did you manifest that? Were you dressing up?
I'm not sure. I just my mom has pictures of me as a kid with like a gun at my side in church because I wanted to be a police officer so bad. So at the time, it was what I wanted to do, and so it just kind of made sure it made it happen.
There it is, a man that completed his dreams. He became a police officer.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, good deal. And then you moved into the world of DART,
Yes.
right? And family violence. Tell me a little bit about that journey. Why go from patrolling into this new phase?
Well, patrol is, you're the jack of all trades. You do from everything from accidents to a road hazard to a family violence call and all that stuff. But I wouldn't say a problem with patrol, but my issue with patrol was that there's no follow-up. I don't get to, if I'm at a family violence call, I do my initial report and then my job is done. I'm out.
Yes.
I didn't like that. I like to be the one to start and finish things. And then I thought, how can I do that? How can I do that best? And investigations turned out to be the way. And I thought, I'm like, hey, I can start and finish a case, and from beginning to end, it's me, and I get to do the work. And having worked the DART unit, I found that family violence cases, they speak to me. That's something that, one of those crimes that I have a personal issue with, so I make it a mission to prosecute those people who commit those offenses.
Now, I know as the years progress as a police officer, you tend to grow in a lot of wisdom. You tend to be a little bit more seasoned. And as a patrol officer, things move very fast. You go from one case to another. You're always bouncing from one to another. It's hard to make a relationship with that person out there because now you got an offense report that you got to write. You got all these pictures. You got to do all this evidence, and you got to move to the next call. And you got a major accident scene now moving to. As a police officer, before when you were taking family violence cases, now that you actually do the hard and more in-depth part of family violence, what reminisces or what do you think about, man, if I was to go back to patrol, this is what I would change in how I approach these cases, evidence-wise and interview-wise, and how you speak to people and the evidence you collect in the beginning?
One of the biggest things would be and this is part of what the DART program does, is let the victims know how many resources are available right away, because a lot of times these victims, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do afterwards. Their lives are tied into their partner, into their family. What am I going to do with the kids? What am I going to do for money? And we have a lot of resources to help with that kind of stuff. If I was on patrol, I would make sure to be educated on that and be able to explain those things to the victims. Another thing is make a really concerted effort to identifying the suspect by photograph, by all that stuff, so that if need be, if we can't get in touch with the victim for whatever reason, we can still prosecute the case.
There it is. It's all about the evidence and the way you collect your evidence. Me, when I was on patrol, I was a little bit more goofy in how I collected my evidence. And then later on, when I started working family violence cases as an investigator, I said, I'm looking at this case. Maybe we should have done a little bit more of this, and then the case would be a little bit more workable. But since I don't have that, now I got to go look for that. Yeah. But again, it's just the years and time. So let's hear Sergeant Jason Cisneros, Sergeant, as he's out there on patrol, and he gives us a little bit of what the process is as a patrol sergeant and taking these family violence calls.
So I'm HPD Sergeant Jason Cisneros. I've been on the department for about 11 years now, and when it comes to domestic violence calls, they're very serious in nature, and we take them very seriously. And one thing to know that if you're in any kind of relationship with violence is taking place, you need to call 911 immediately. You let dispatch know if there are any weapons in the house, anything that we should know about that will harm the officers or any of the parties involved. Officers will show up to the call, and sometimes there'll be a two-man unit because of the nature of the call is very serious, or multiple units, and that's okay. So if you see multiple police cars show up, don't be alarmed. It just means that we want to ensure the safety and well-being of all the parties involved. So when officers arrive on scene to a domestic violence call, we assess the situation. Again, we separate parties. Some may be detained. Doesn't mean you're getting arrested, it just means you're getting detained, so we can get all the facts together and get statements. We want to make sure that we have statements from the witnesses, statements from those involved, the victim, everyone, and because again, the main objective for us is to make sure that there's a thorough investigation and that everybody is safe, both the victims and the officers as well. We do have a blue form that we give out to those that are victims of domestic violence, and on the blue form are name, phone numbers, and organizations locally that you can contact that will help you out in your situation. Once that investigation is kind of concluded there on scene, the lead officer on scene will ask for a DART unit, which is the Domestic Abuse Response Team, a specialized unit that HPD has. And I personally had a call recently with a 11-year-old female that called police because her parents were beating each other up. And so we arrived on scene, separated parties, got the facts together, and we asked for a DART unit to show up. It's just a huge sigh of relief on the victims and on the kids when the DART showed up, because there's also seeing a civilian advocate there on scene as well, working with police, showing that, you know, as a community we care and that we both want to work together to ensure safety of all the parties.
From a Sergeant Jason Cisneros taking these calls every single day. Now let's expand a little bit about the difference between patrol taking a family violence call and the work that you guys do right now in family violence unit here in 1200 Travis or in the different sites that we have all over the city.
Yeah, so currently we have 4 different family violence stations: North, Central, West, and South. Just covering the entire city of Houston. The major difference between patrol and investigations is that patrol, the scene's still hot. The suspect might still be there. The victim might still be injured and in need of medical attention. As I'm sure you know, and maybe the public doesn't know, family violence scenes or domestic disturbances can be some of the most dangerous calls that patrol officers go to. In fact, we have policy in this department that one officer is not allowed to go to this domestic disturbance call by himself. They must be accompanied by another officer. So it's either a 2-man unit or 2 different cars show up because of the danger involved. And when you're dealing with that kind of thing, it's more difficult to complete an investigation when you're trying to mind safety as well. And in investigations, we have the luxury of time. We get to take our time with it. We get to gather all the facts. We can talk to everybody involved. We can go find out the suspect. We can talk to that person as well and see exactly what happened. I can take my time with pictures, lab results, whatever the case may be. And everything's a lot more calm and slow, so I can do a much more thorough job. And I do not fault the patrol officers if their job isn't as thorough as mine's going to be, because they do not have that luxury of time. They're worried about safety. They're worried about gathering the evidence they can, the best that they can at that particular time.
And talking about the dangers of family violence, we're going to go to a survivor, Quint Libby, as she speaks to the story of her daughter, Malaysia Libby, who was murdered by her husband. Let's see, and this speaks to the dangers in family violence.
My name is Quinn Levy, and my daughter, Malaysia Levy, was murdered on August 8th, 2020 by her child's father. I'm basically just here to tell her story, bring awareness to some of the signs that I tried to warn her about. Malaysia was with this guy maybe 3 months before she found out she was pregnant. He was nice at first. Once he found out she was pregnant, everything changed. This was her first love. This was her first real boyfriend. She wanted that family. I just wish that she would have listened. You saw all the signs. She just had that hope. You know what I mean? She just kept hoping, and it cost her life. You know, I just didn't know that this stuff started so young until it hit my house. Ever since then, that's been my goal, to try to just reach out. I think it's a self-esteem issue. I think it's an issue on not recognizing toxicity. I think it's an issue of not knowing what love looks like, what it really is. I pass by her picture every day, and I just am like, I just can't believe you're gone. She never saw this coming. It sucks. And I don't know, we're gonna have to tell her, the baby, one day. I always say, I'm gonna keep living for you. But I have 3 other children that I have to live for, and I have my granddaughter that I have to live for, and I feel like I owe it to my daughter to live for her, and to fight for justice for her, and to help whoever I can help to not go the same route that she did. Well, that's the best I can do.
We want to thank Quinn Libby for participating and allowing us to see this very personal side of being a survivor, and again, just listening to the story, so heart-wrenching. These are the stories that you guys hear as investigators. You get to dive into the stories a little bit more.
Yeah, and the histories and what's been going on, and the person and the victim's life, exactly what's been going on. Patrol, it's very shallow. I get to know these people, so it becomes a labor of love and a personal thing. You get emotionally invested in some of these cases.
That's right. Now let's speak into this new movement. This something that just a couple of years ago it really got endorsed by the Houston Police Department, and it really went moving, and it has a lot of success. DART. What does DART mean? What is that?
It's the Domestic Abuse Response Team, and it is a service we're providing where we take an officer and then a victim's advocate, and we go straight to the family violence scenes when they happen. And what we're able to do there is the resources I spoke about earlier, we're able to provide those on scene. And that could be something as helpful as taking a victim and the children and taking them to a shelter and getting them out of that situation immediately because the suspect is missing and we don't know where he's at. He might return later that evening. And being able to do that, a lot of times when we first get to a scene, that's the best time to render that kind of aid because if the victim or the suspect has time to think, they might move, that the victim might second guess things, they could get assaulted again. So being able to go on scene and give them be able to provide those resources really helps with follow through. It also helps the prosecution because now they have a point of contact. The advocate that goes, gives them the number, they give them a call later. The next day they follow up and give them a call. So now we have a line onto that person and we can continue the case, and we found that it's a very effective tool in a more positive overall outcome. It makes it so that not only is the case prosecutable, but the victim's safety is better secured. It's definitely been proven over and over again that the program started only in one part of Houston, north part, and now it's citywide.
Domestic Abuse
Response Team.
Yes. Good work that is being done on the streets every single day when the scene is happening. Now, you were speaking to earlier about how officers and patrol go out there and they give out these cards with information, the resources that the Houston Police Department has, and some of these forms that people have to fill out in order to access some of the benefits to somebody that's being victimized. Let's say it like that, but. The expressions on people's faces when you show up with the form as a DART officer, as an advocate, and you say, ma'am, I'm going to help you fill this out for you. I'm going to do this with you. The expressions that you see, and this is what Sergeant Josue Villa in the DART unit is going to be talking to us about. Check this video out.
I'm Sergeant Josue Villa. I'm a supervisor at Victim Services Division, and I'm the sergeant over the Domestic Abuse Response Team, which is the DART program. Our officers that are on patrol respond to, domestic violence calls. They will get on our channel and say, hey, I need a DART unit out. We let the primary officers do their job, right? It's important for them to investigate. So then we get all the facts, the details of the investigation, so that our victim doesn't have to repeat themselves, right? Because they've already gone through the traumatic event. And they've already told the primary officer what happened, they told the secondary officer what happened. So when our civilian advocate comes in, they know the story, they know what's going on, and we immediately start rendering services to them, allowing them the opportunity to break this cycle of abuse. Civilians definitely help break down those barriers, those walls with our victims, where officers may not find that success because of the uniform. When our civilians arrive at the scenes, they're not wearing a uniform, they don't have a gun belt on, and they're not knocking like police officers knock. So as soon as our civilian says to the victim on scene, I am not a police officer, I'm a victim advocate here to help you, you can see those barriers start to come down. So another component of DART is the forensic nurse. The forensic nurse arrives to the scene and starts to take in evidence, whether it's rape, an abuse, sexual assault, anything like that. They collect the evidence so that at times victims may not even have to testify and face their abuser. We help them out by not having to get them transported to a hospital. They may not have a babysitter. They might have multiple children that they can't leave, they don't want to leave, and as a parent I wouldn't want to leave my kids either, right? So we afford them that opportunity to have that in-house, in person, to where they can feel comfortable. And when we're done, we leave and they stay where, you know, where they call home, or we can transport them to shelters. Many times the suspect is not on scene, right? So our fear is that that suspect may return. So what we do is we offer them shelter through our nonprofit partners. Hey, we want to get you out of this situation tonight. What we don't want is for the victim to ask for help and then not get help because of a financial situation, right? So all these resources are completely free.
You see the advocates, the counselors, these blue forms that get filled out, the documentation. Documentation can be a little rough and tough for people that are going through these crises. For officers, sometimes we have to talk to and tell our work partners that domestic abuse it can be very, very traumatizing for people. For us, we see it every single day. We make these calls every single day, and it can become something of a routine. But every single person that's going through this, it's a very unique experience, and it's their experience, and it's probably the most dramatic thing that they're going. These forms, how hard is it for somebody that's going through trauma to actually go through all these forms and fill out so they can access the help?
You just spoke about it. The first thing we got to emphasize is that it's trauma, and oftentimes it's the worst thing that's ever happened in that person's life. It is routine for us. It's very easy to get in your car and drive to work, but if you see an accident on the side of the road, you stop and you look because it's new and it's interesting. But to that person in that car, that could be the worst thing that's happened to them that year. So these victims that we go to, filling out forms, it seems like a menial task, but oftentimes they have difficulty just expressing in words what happened.
Sure.
So being able to grab a pen, how many times have I seen their hand shake too much to even write?
That's right.
So it seems like it wouldn't be difficult, but it is, because again, it's all about perspective and the fact that this is quite possibly the worst thing that's happened to them in their entire life.
And this is what DART does. These units that are specialized, that have these civilian advocates, they go out and provide this help. Now, is this something that someone can, when they call 911, hey, I want a DART unit out here? Or is it something that dispatch has to kind of discern and a number of available units? How does that kind of work out?
Well, we have, every working night, we have a few DART units out there. Patrol is educated and they know to ask for us. But I'm sure if the public becomes aware and they start asking, it won't be a problem either, because if they have a domestic violence situation and we got somebody available, we will happily go. And not only can we go when the scene is live, but after the officers leave, if it's been a couple hours, we can still show up to the home just to talk to the victim and give those resources out. We're available for that whole time. So if anybody's out there and they need the help, or they know somebody who needs the help, you can certainly call and ask and say, hey, you know, I've heard about this DART program. Can you send one of those guys out there?
You know, and just like anything, you start small and then it starts growing. This program has been showing a lot of success. Now we're going to go back to Sergeant Joshua Villa. He's going to talk to the success. As officers, when we arrive to these scenes, we're back here again. We're doing this again. It doesn't stop. Breaking the cycle. Let's go to this video as Sergeant Joshua tells us about breaking this cycle.
My name is Josue Villa. I work at Victim Services Division. I am the Domestic Abuse Response Team, or DART, Sergeant. DART is a component of Victim Services where we pair up an officer and a civilian advocate. What we do is we respond to domestic violence scenes across the city. The civilian advocate is there to advocate for the victim. So what our advocates do is they will, on scene, provide crisis intervention for them. We will try to get them resources for that night. If they need to go to a shelter, we'll provide them shelter. If they need to be transported across the city to a safe place where they can be away from the violence, that's what we'll do. On scenes, I've seen the faces of the victims go from, what am I going to do? How is this going to end? And you can see that facial expression change when the victim advocate sits down next to them and starts to fill out an application with them. You can see that instant, like, oh, I'm not alone in this. You know, this is a possibility. I can do this. And I have this person who I've never met in my life who is my #1 advocate. You know, many times the victims, you can see the look on their face of despair, you know, just kind of distraught, like, what am I going to do? Especially when there's children involved, there's no financial backing from anybody else other than the abuser. And that facial expression changes when we provide these resources and we let them know that these resources are available to them free. A lot of times historically, we've just talked to victims, handed them a blue form and said, call these numbers here, they're going to help you. You know, I see this every night that I'm out there. You kind of see the victim say, yeah, you've given me one of these before, I've gotten one of these before, you've been out here before, nothing ever happens. And then the civilian busts out a clipboard with a form. Hey, I'm going to sit next to you, I'm going to start filling this form out with you. Wait, what is this form for? This is a crime victim compensation. You know, this is for your medical bills, this is for your lost time at work, this is for lost wages. And you see that facial expression just change, like, wait, you're going to sit here with me and do this? You know, and that's a feeling that we want to give our victims, right? That you're not alone. They're not conditioned to a certain service. Now they're getting, you know, the greatest customer service that you could receive.
There's so many resources. There's shelters for the forensic nurses, everything that Sergeant Villa spoke about that the DART unit has an office right there on the spot. How relieving is that when you can tell a family, not only do I show you the resources, but I can actually take you to them?
It's at the time when you show them that, they don't, like I said, it's so traumatic, they don't even know what's going on. But with certainty, I can say later on, when everything calms down and they're realizing all the help they're getting, and oh, he's not going to get in trouble because he knows what to do and what to say to the police. Well, that forensic nurse examination is going to show us otherwise. Mm-hmm. And when they have that kind of security, it lets them know that we're not just taking a report for them. We're here to help them. We're here to do the work. So it's a huge relief. And it's just, as an investigator, it's nice to know that these things are out there. I mean, if I'm working a case and I have a forensic nurse report, that's fantastic. You know, that's great to have.
It is. Now, the Houston Police Department, with its DART unit, when you guys get dispatched with this civilian advocate, what usually happens? Does the officer go first and secure the scene? Are there other officers already, like you mentioned before, maybe that are the ones that summon you guys to be specialized on this, that are already caring for the scene? And then the advocate. When does the advocate move in?
Okay, so generally what happens is, since the advocate is a civilian, they're not carrying a weapon and they're not trained in police work, we do wait for the scene to be secured and calmed down. If the suspect's there, he's in custody. And then we'll speak to the primary officers, get a rundown of what happened. And then usually, when I do it, I'll approach the victim and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Officer Otero. I'm with the DART unit, and I have somebody who'd like to speak with you and provide you with some resources if you would like to speak to them. And it's always up to the victim to talk to the advocate, and they oftentimes say yes. After that yes is achieved, then I bring in my advocate when everything's nice and calmed down, because we want to make sure that they can get their point across the best that they can. So it is a situation where you have to wait for things to cool down a little bit.
And it's there's a special connection when you have that advocate without a uniform on. There's a special connection that they can make with that person that's going through something, because they don't have the fear of that uniform being on top of them, or sometimes we're as officers, we're moving from call to call. We tend not to pick up certain things, but as a civilian advocate, they tend to express something that we can't at times.
And they have the training. They're trauma informed. They're trained on how to do this and how to speak to people. And it's a training that officers might not have, or skills that we haven't acquired, because we're trained in different ways. Yes, and oftentimes they won't talk to officers, but they'll gladly talk to the advocate.
That's right. Now let's go to Lieutenant Kiara Webster. She is in the Family Violence Investigations Unit, and she's going to talk to us about how important is it to hold offenders accountable, and of course the threefold approach that the Houston Police Department has in its philosophy with family violence, which is training officers, educating the public, and investigating the crime. Let's go to Lieutenant Kiara Webster.
I'm Lieutenant Kiara Webster with the Houston Police Department Family Violence Unit. The Family Violence Unit is dedicated to hold the offenders accountable, and we have a threefold approach of training the police officers, educating the public, and investigating the crime of domestic violence. We are a victim-centered, evidence-based investigation. We start by believing, and then we will go through the court process all the way through prosecution. We work a case with the evidence, and it could be photographs, it could be 911 tapes, it could be an outcry witness. We present our case to the district attorney's office, and they go through the trial, and basically there's victim advocates that support them through the process, and we're there trying to get the offender to be charged with the crime of domestic violence. The Houston Police Department works with all the advocates, the healthcare professionals, counselors, the whole community, because we're trying to work together to support the victim, to have their voices heard, to not have to live in abusive relationships. It's a criminal investigation with compassion, and we're trying to get justice for the victim of domestic violence and support and resources that they need. It may include housing, shelter, it could include counseling, it could include just support, hope for a better future. It's a lot of everyone coming together to improve the quality of life for the victims of domestic violence. Our goal is to keep the victim safe, to hold the domestic violence abuser accountable, and to make the community a safer place for everyone.
The Houston Police Department is victim-centered and evidence-based. We keep victims safe. That is the goal. That we want to be keeping them safe, and of course, the suspect accountability. And this is why these investigations are so important. Mm-hmm. Now, for a victim, how important is it for a victim to cooperate when you guys start making those phone calls, when you guys are trying to collect your information?
Well, it's almost everything. I mean, without the victim's cooperation, we don't have much of a case at all. It takes a certain amount of courage to come forward and tell their story and be willing to prosecute, because there's so much on the line. It's not a situation where somebody broke into your car. This is your life. This is what you go home to every day. So when something really bad happens, like a domestic violence situation, it's a world-shaking event. So we try to implore upon them the importance of following through with the investigation, following through with prosecution, because without them, we cannot prosecute. So it's incredibly important that they follow through.
And now the district attorney's office, they're always working together with the Houston Police Department in prosecuting these cases. And of course, sometimes if we have enough evidence with photos, with some of the preliminary statements that officers take, we have these very valuable cameras that we carry on our uniforms, and those cameras are on all the time when we are engaging the public, when we're engaging victims, when we're engaging suspects, and everything gets recorded, even a traffic stop, simple as traffic stop, everything gets video recorded, and some of the statements that are said there may be enough to present a case to the district attorney and sometimes get the prosecution going and getting a suspect detained.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've used body camera footage before just as the basis alone for prosecution when we're unable to get in touch with the complainant.
Okay, so there it is. The Houston Police Department Family Violence Unit. We have this unit that's always working hard to attend to every need that you have regarding your case. If someone wants to call the Family Violence Unit and maybe follow up on a case, that maybe they were not cooperating before and they want to kind of call back and say, hey, I want to speak to my case. Mm-hmm. How do they reach you guys?
You can call 713-308-1100. Mm-hmm. And if you have an investigator, you can ask to speak to that investigator directly, or just speak to our front desk manager there, and they'll be able to direct you to an available investigator.
There it is.
Or come in person.
Come in person.
1200 Travis.
Yeah.
If you're in the central area.
Makawa, 8300 Makawa?
8300 Makawa, 9455 West Montgomery, and the West Side Police Station's on Derry Ashford Road.
That's a huge station.
It's a big station.
Huge.
Yes, yes.
They want to go West Side. Again, what's the address for West Side Family Violence?
The exact address, I'm not sure, but it's on Derry Ashford.
Derry Ashford. I think it's real close to West Park.
I think it's on the 12,000 blocks. Derry Ashford.
So there it is. You have a major police station there, the Houston Police Department, that can take your report, pictures, and documentation regarding your family violence case. There's also a huge station in an 8300 block of Makawa. If you want to do a follow-up, or if you want to just get a report done, we have a main place there to do your report. And 1200 Travis. Now, of course, call an officer to your scene, okay? Call the officer to your house. You don't have to go to one of these police stations first to make your report. Call police to your house if it's an emergency. If you feel like you're under, you're threatened by your partner, call the police. Let us go out there. Give us as much information as possible, and we'll go out there and we'll do what we have to do to keep you safe.
And sure. Also, if it's already happened and it's been a little while, don't hesitate to come make the report either. If you've got photographs of any injuries sustained or you have any compelling evidence, certainly come. We can still prosecute those cases. Just because it's been a month doesn't mean that you can't get the justice you deserve. So please don't hesitate to come on down. We'll be the ones determining whether or not we can prosecute the case. So please don't do it yourself. Just come through and get the help.
Now, like Officer Otero mentioned, it's a very difficult decision to make. It takes a lot of courage to go out there and make these police reports. I lived it. My own family, we lived through so much family violence until finally things got taken care of. It was a tough situation. We know how it feels. A lot of us know your story and have lived a little bit of your story and understand what you're going through. And we try to do our best. We have Sonia Corrales from the Houston Area Women's Center. She offers in this video more information on what they have for you. The Houston Area Women's Center, they work with a whole bunch of different nonprofit organizations, and they can get you a safe place to go to if you feel like the person that's there with you is threatening. They can help you reach those resources and find those resources for you and for your kids. So here we go with this information.
My name is Sonia Corrales, and I am the Chief Program Officer at the Houston Area Women's Center. So the Houston Area Women's Center is a nonprofit organization in the city of Houston that provides services to domestic violence survivors and sexual assault survivors. The overwhelming majority of the calls that we get are from women today, but we want also the community to know that we recognize that anyone can be a victim of domestic violence. I think with DART, which is the Domestic Abuse Response Team, it's a multidisciplinary team, and that's critical. We're part of this multidisciplinary team. They call us, we respond immediately. So how that makes a difference is that it's an immediate access to safety. So oftentimes a domestic violence survivor may not know exactly what to expect. You know, what is it where am I going? What can I expect, when I get there? They're going to be welcomed by our residential mentor. They're going to sit and talk to them about how we can safety plan, what is going on in their situation and how can we provide those services. They go to a room with their children. It's private. They have access to their own beds. They have access to their own laundry. We know that early intervention with children makes a difference in the future, because what we want to do is stop two things: that child from becoming a victim or that child from becoming a perpetrator. We have an HISD school. There's a teacher, there's a desk, there's access to everything any HISD school can provide. One of the things that is different here, of course, is that we have a very secure facility, right? So we have a very secure campus where a child can go and they can feel like no one's going to hurt them. After school, we have enrichment activities. So immediately after school, they go to another place within our residential campus. While mom is here and she's meeting with the case management, we have a huge career development program or economic empowerment program where we really meet with survivors and talk to them about what they want to do. Do they want to further their education? Do they want to get a job? Where do they want to get a job? But we do it in a way that's safe.
It's been awesome. Officer Detective Otero from the Houston Police Department, Family Violence Unit. Anything else that you would like to share with the community that's watching Community Shield at this point?
I just want to emphasize that we're here to help, and we'll do everything we can to help you guys out. So just don't hesitate to ask for the help. We can't help you unless you let us know.
If you need more information on the victim services, the unit that we have for victim services, you can always reach out to the Family Violence Unit, and you can get forwarded to what number?
713-308-1100.
There it is, 713-308-1100. If you have any more general questions, maybe you need to be forwarded somewhere else, you can also call our Public Affairs unit, and they can help you with that. Our Community Affairs at 713-308-3200, 713-308-3200. And again, we hope that you have picked up some valuable information that you can share with your friends, you can share with your family. This broadcast that's being done here on our social media. Again, Officer Otero.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
for having me.
You rock. Rock and roll.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Peña. I'm the fire chief for the city of Houston. I just want to remind everyone, as the summer kicks in and we look for ways to cool off from this heat, and we take our kids to the pools, that there are some safety considerations for you to keep in mind. It doesn't take much for a tragedy to occur. The drownings are quick and deadly. In 20 to 30 seconds, a tragedy can strike. So please be cautious of that. Be mindful that we need to keep an eye on our kids, whether it's in a pool, whether it's in a bathtub, in a sink. Tragedy can strike at any moment. So again, we want to have a nice, relaxing, and enjoyable summer, but also a safe summer. In addition to that, the number of fires has gone up. With this drought, with this lack of rain, we're seeing a number of fires, especially in the homes. And we want to remind you that the Houston Fire Department has a smoke detector program. The smoke detector provides early warning, and it helps in alerting people that there is danger, that there is something going on in the house, and so they can make an escape. So I want to remind you that if you need a smoke detector, that you can call the Houston Fire Department at 832-394-6633, or go to our website and request a smoke detector. Our firefighters will schedule something to go out and install one of these to you. So have a safe summer.
Houston Police Department, Office of Community Affairs, and we're at the great Maryland Middle School, aka Johnston Middle School. I can't believe that I went here back in the 80s, from 86 to 89. Today we're here for the 8th grade fun day. Let's go and check it out. We have Officer Cooper here with Community Affairs. Officer Cooper, how are you doing today, sir?
Sir, I'm doing great.
Yes. How does it feel to be at Johnston Middle School today on their 8th grade fun day?
It feels great.
Yeah.
Just enjoying some of the kids, enjoying the kids and their activities. We're going to be doing them in a minute. If they have any questions for the officers, that we can answer.
Thank you, sir.
So, curious mind.
Yes, looks good. Looks good. Officer Lee, how's it going, sir?
Good, how about you?
Yeah, good to see you today. Officer Rodriguez, good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And we have HISD Officer
Hawkins.
Hawkins, how you doing? What is your job here at Maryland Middle?
So I'm the police officer here for the day.
Okay.
Covering the campus.
Okay.
Enjoying the kids.
Okay.
Seeing them off for the summer.
Okay. Okay. How long you been working here at Maryland Middle?
Well, this is my first day over here. I've been in HISD for about a year and a half.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for your service. Okay. Thanks for your service.
Thank you for acknowledging me.
Our team man here today. What is your name, sir? Officer Simmons. Simmons. Good to see you, Mr. Simmons. How do you feel being at Maryland Middle School today?
Good to be out here, help out, and interact with the kids. And look like they're interested in playing right now, but I'm sure the heat's going to get them in a few minutes.
It will. I think we're going to walk out and meet them in a few seconds.
That'll work. Watch
Okay.
your back.
All right, got you. And we have a sergeant here, I believe, in K9.
I can get out as well.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Sergeant, if you can tell me your name and what do you do?
Bob Opperman, I'm with the K9 detail. We'll end up bringing Officer Talent and his partner out here.
Okay.
He's going to turn around. Officer Talent, introduce your partner over here.
Okay. Just don't bring them too close, please, sir. Right there is good. What's your name, sir? What's your rank?
So I'm K9 Officer Jonathan Talent, the HPD Control K9 Division, and this is my K9 partner, DJ.
Okay.
He's a 3-year-old Bells Malinois, and he's a awesome partner to have. The best partner I've ever had in my life. I'll hold it up and just get him left.
Okay.
There you go. That's how you get that camera shot.
Okay. Wow.
Totally focused on his toy.
Wow. Sarge, thanks for coming. Kirby, one of my good buddies here. He's with Community Affairs. He helped me get all these guys out. Officer Kirby, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
Great.
It's all about the kids.
All about the kids. Well, we're at Maryland Middle School today. It's their 8th grade fun day. and we're going to be here and interact with kids. Thank you, Officer Kirk.
One thing.
Yes, sir.
Always remember.
Okay.
Never look down on anybody unless you're helping them up.
Thank you, sir. We have Amanda Serena, Vice President of Community Relations here at Maryland PVA. Miss Amanda, how are you doing today?
We're doing great. It's great to have all you guys out here and have all the 8th graders enjoying some fun before they've got two more days of middle school, and then they are off and launched.
Wow. How did you guys survive the whole COVID deal back in 2020 and to 2021? How did you make it through?
It's been tough. So I have a 6th grader here, so this is our first year here.
Okay.
But I know that so many of the students really it's not an easy time, especially in middle school. If you're not home, you're isolated from your friends.
Yes.
And you're isolated from your teachers, and distance learning was not easy on anyone, kids, parents, families alike. So That's why something like this is so much fun, especially for this particular class.
Okay.
Middle school's only 3 years long, and two and a half years of that for them has been in a pandemic.
Wow.
So getting to celebrate with their friends outside before they go off to high school is an important thing, and we appreciate you being here.
Yes. Thank you again, Miss Amanda. Today we have Tiffany Inslee. She's a mother. Her child, this your daughter right here?
Yeah, it is my daughter. She was a student here, but my son is an 8th grader.
What is your son's name?
Tyler Inslee.
Okay. How has his experience been here at Maryland Middle School since he's been a student here?
Oh, Maryland has been great. The experience has been great. The teachers, the staff, administration, everybody it's been a joy. I'm going to miss it, probably more than they will.
Wow. Did you grow up in the Houston area?
I really did.
Did you go to any of the schools in HISD?
So, you want me to give my lineage? So I started out at Parker Elementary.
So did I.
Okay.
So did I.
Started at Parker, and then I left Parker and went to John E. Caldwell Elementary in south side of town. And from there, I went to Welch Middle School.
Welch Warriors?
We were Warriors, right? And then from there, I went to Westbury, where we were the Rebels.
Wow. May I ask what year you came out? Or you came? Don't worry. Not for the camera.
I am class of 2000.
Wow. Okay. That'll work. Well, ma'am, thank you for the interview and thank you for your patience and being out here with your children. We love it and we thank you. All right, we have Gafford and Gonzalez, the legendary SWAT team is here. Sir, how you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. You getting everything together, sir? Tell me what you have right there on that table.
This is my duty rifle here.
Okay.
Set up with a magnifier, red dot, laser up front for night vision stuff.
Okay.
We do have a can on the front there.
Okay.
Just kind of help with working in and around each other when shooting.
Okay.
With that sound suppression.
Yes, sir.
All the gear here, like our robot.
Okay.
Comes in handy.
Okay.
Out on scenes.
Okay.
We can covertly push up, maybe breach a door or window.
Okay.
Get that robot inside.
Okay.
Basically like a hide-and-seek game, you know.
Okay.
Going and looking for somebody or suspect.
Yes, sir.
Maybe barricaded, hiding inside.
Yes, sir. Okay. How long you been on the department?
I've been on the department now about 13 years and some change.
Okay. I remember you. We started out together out in the Southeast.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I've been on the department now for 13 years.
Okay.
Part-time for about 4 or 5 years. I've been full-time now about 2 years.
Okay. Sir, I appreciate everything you do.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. And we have another guy over here, another SWAT man here. Sir, can you tell me your name and how long you've been on with HPD?
Officer Gafford, about 14 years.
Okay. How do you like SWAT, sir? Tell me about some of the adventurous things that you've done or anything.
I love it. I mean, just like on the police department, like everybody else, we're out there to help protect people and help citizens. So.
Well, thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you. Full uniform, gun belt, everything. Way down, and long boots. We have Principal Sarabia, the principal of the great Maryland Middle School, a.k.a. Johnson Middle School. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing excellent.
Tell me, what do we have today? Is this the 8th grade fun day for Maryland Middle School?
That is exactly what it is. It's our day to celebrate with the kids. We're almost at the end of the school year. We need to have some fun. They've done a great job this year.
Okay, thank you, sir. How long have you been here at Maryland Middle, sir?
This is my 5th year.
Your 5th year, wow. So tell me, how did you guys survive the COVID, the 2020, 2021? How did you make it through that tough time?
Oh, that's a great question. We did it together. It took all the parents, the teachers, the students, everyone pulling together to make sure we got ourselves to the end of this. And thank God we're almost there.
Yeah. Well, sir, it's always good to see you. Thank you for letting us come to your school, do the presentations, and to be here, HPD, be here on the fun day. Thank you again, sir.
It's always great to see a Johnston alumni.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We have a SWAT sergeant here, and we have Mr. Raul Collins. These men are both good. Let's stand side by side straight up. Sarge, can you tell me how tall you are, sir?
I am 6'2".
6'2", and Mr. Collins, how tall are you?
6'7".
Sir, I think you're 6'8", but I'll go ahead and take 6'7". I'll borrow the inch and make myself 5'11". Great day today at Maryland Middle School, the 8th grade fun day. I want to thank SWAT. I want to thank the dive team. I want to thank the K-9, and I want to also thank the Office of Community Affairs for coming out and making this a great event. We'll see you next year.
This has been a NowMedia television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio
son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
En vivo desde Houston, la ciudad espacial. Esto es NowMedia Televisión.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching NowMedia Television.